I've seen spirits, I've met angels, touched creations beautiful and wondrous. I've been places where I question all I think I know. I believe this could be heaven. We are born inside the gates with the power to create life and take it away. The world is our temple, the world is our church. Heaven's here on earth. If we have faith in humankind and respect for what is earthly and an unfaltering belief in peace, love, and understanding, this could be heaven here on earth, heaven in our heart.
Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. It's great to see all of you here this morning, and it's great to just come together in unity. There is a wonderful power in our coming together, and it's a great opportunity for us to tune into something even more within ourselves and within each other and within our spiritual community. I wanted to take a moment before I begin my lesson to really take a moment and do a blessing for the new ministry that is starting at Unity in Travis. Most of you know that John and Bonnie Connor have been members of this congregation for a number of years and been very involved and active, and they have gotten a dream and a vision to create and to start a new ministry in the Austin area. And so they're starting actually today, and they're having services right now, as a matter of fact. So would you just take a moment with me, and let's just hold them in our hearts and just send them lots of good energy, positive thoughts, feelings of love and appreciation, and knowing that all things are working for them in wonderful divine order, that just the right people are being drawn to that ministry that can be blessed by these wonderful spiritual principles of unity and by the hearts and minds and spirits of the ministers and all of the congregation. And we're so grateful for this opportunity to be instruments of God's love and light, to help seed a new ministry and to see it thriving and growing and prospering just as we are thriving and growing and prospering. And we're so grateful that we are able to be a part of that. And we send them forth with love and blessings, knowing that all things are working together for a greater good. And so it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Blessed Spirit. Amen. Thank you for joining me in that. I feel good about helping to share the teachings and the lessons that we have been blessed with in Unity, and it's another great opportunity for us to help bless and allow the growth of these teachings and this movement and this spiritual consciousness to develop throughout the world. We've been working with a series of lessons that are called Be a Dreamer. And we've been working with an understanding that reality and you and I are a part of, that we are in our process of creating our reality all the time. We are participating in an activity of spirit that is beyond our conscious understanding much of the time, and yet we are being called also to become more and more consciously aware. Is this our alarm system that's going off? Okay. Is there any way? I guess we can't stop that. Well, anyway, I guess we're creating that right now as well, so we'll need to create a sense of awareness and peace that we're going to get through this. So, as we've been thinking about this, we've been talking about the understanding of that we came into this world from our source, from Spirit, from God. We're being created in the image and after the likeness of the divine. And the divine is not just some being out there that we've been told that sits on a throne and that is, got the long gray beard. All gray beards are kind of nice, but that's not the way it really is in spirit. And so we need to begin to expand our understanding and our consciousness, not only of the divine, but of ourselves as a part of that. That we are created to be creative beings. We are created with the energy and the power to create. And it's a part of our work to learn how to harness that energy in our lives, in our world, and to participate in that more in a conscious way, to be more open to the possibilities of a greater good in our lives, and to be more a part of and participating in the creative process in a way that allows even more of the Spirit of the divine to flow in and work in and through us. We have this amazing energy and consciousness and power to be able to shift our physical being, our experiences in our world, to be able to participate in life in a way that allows something more significant than our limited viewpoint in our to come forth. And the more we can reflect on that and be conscious and aware that we're in this process, the process begins to accelerate, actually. The more conscious that we can become of with this awareness that we are spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual laws, the more we participate in that, the more it accelerates our ability to draw into our experiences those kinds of experiences and things that really not only enhance our life, but also enhance the life of those around us. We become lights in the world. The reality is we are lights in the world, and we have an opportunity to reflect even more of the spiritual nature of who and what we are. And so this week, I came across, there's a story that I like to tell, and it's a story about a man. We're talking about how we can live more our dreams and then listen to our guidance, our heavenly messages is the title of the lesson. How can we listen more to the heavenly messages? And when we talk about this, I think it's valuable for us to think about what is it that is being called forth from Spirit, from the divine, from our higher consciousness, if you want to call it that, from our divine connection, from the Christ within us. What is being called forth to come into our lives, and how can we line up and participate with that? The story is of a young man who was having some challenges in life, and he had some real struggles and had lost his job, but finally found a new job, and he needed to have transportation, but he didn't have a car. So he got this new job, and he wasn't sure how he was going to be able to get back and forth to the new car. So he went into his room, and he went in and began to pray. You know, God, please, I need a new car. It doesn't have to be actually a new car. I just need a car. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It just needs to be good, dependable transportation. So God, please, I need good, dependable transportation. And he hears a knock at the door about that time. And so he goes to the door, and it's his brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law says, you know, your sister and I have been talking about it, and we've been praying about it, and we just kind of got this awareness that you need some transportation. And we have this old car. It's not anything fancy, but it's just good, dependable transportation, and we want to give that to you. And the guy says, oh, wow, okay, wait just a minute. So he goes back where he's praying. He says, never mind, God, my brother-in-law took care of it. So oftentimes we're getting inspiration and guidance in ways that we don't recognize. Wouldn't you agree? Sometimes we're getting messages in life that we don't always see or recognize as coming from the divine. Sometimes we don't recognize that there's something going on in our lives, something going on in ourselves that's really leading us to a greater possibility of good. Our Bible verse from today is Genesis 28, 10 through 22. And so I want to read you this story. Meanwhile, Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. He reached a certain place where he decided to camp because the sun had gone down. He took one of the stones and placed it near his head, and then he fell asleep in that place and had a dream. He saw a stairway erected on the earth and its top reaching to the heavens. The angels of God were going up and down in it, and the Lord stood at its top. And he said, I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham and the God of your father Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the ground that you are lying on. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west, the east, north, and south. And all the families of the earth will pronounce blessings on one another, using your name, that of your descendants, and I am with you. I will protect you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I have done what I have promised you. And then Jacob woke up and thought, surely the Lord is in this place, but I did not realize it. He was afraid and said, what an awesome place this is. This is nothing else than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. And early in the morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed near his head and set it up as a sacred stone. And then he poured oil on top of it, and he called that place Bethel. And although the former name of the town was Luz. And then Jacob made a vow saying, if God is with me and protects me on this journey I am taking and gives food to eat and clothing to wear, and I return safely to my father's home, then the Lord will become my God. And then this stone that I have set up as a sacred stone will be the house of God, and I will surely give you back 1/10 of everything that you give to me. So this story, looking at it from a metaphysical perspective, Jacob represents an earlier version or an earlier form, as Charles Fillmore says, of our I am self, of the divine within us. It represents an awakening awareness of our own unique divine nature, our own ability to be a part of that creative process. And in this story, he is walking and he is going through a place called Haran, which really means more of an openness, whereas the former name was Luz, which is a closeness, a separation. The first part is a separation. The other one is more of a connection. So he's going through an experience where he's experiencing more of his connection with that which is invisible. You see, you and I was listening, Julie and I were listening yesterday to a wonderful work by the Abraham Hicks. I love that, the way they present many of these spiritual metaphysical teachings in very more perhaps modern language, you might say, and more clear. You see, the reality is that you and I think that we are these physical bodies. We think that we are these little egos. We think that we are these personalities, as we talk about in Unity, and that we have a personality and that's who we are. But there is more to us than what we imagine ourselves to be. The essence of who and what we are is beyond our physical well-being. It is beyond our thoughts about ourselves. There is that within us that is not necessarily expressing in this physical form or in this physical world, for that matter. And that part of us that is connected, that is invisible to us oftentimes, is more of our divine nature, or what we call the Christ within. There is a presence and a power that is within our nature and our being that is beyond our limited belief systems about who and what we are. And part of our understanding and work here in the world is to learn how to tap in and to tune into that more expansive aspect of our nature and being, and bring that more into fruition through, and all of our experiences here are here to help teach us and show us ways that we can expand our own unique awareness of who and what we are, and how we can grow in those gifts and those possibilities of a greater expression of the divine. all of the creation that goes on in our lives and world begin with what Charles Fillmore calls a divine idea. Do you realize that whether you know it or not, that you, yes, you, the personal you, is a divine idea? Who you are is a divine idea. It is an idea in the mind of God, and all things that come into form first begin with ideas. And the idea of you is so special and so unique that there's actually nobody else in the world that can do that and do what you are here and called to do, that can create what you are called to create. And everything that goes on in and of your experience and life is here to express more of that magnificence that is within you, that is beyond your own limited belief system about yourself. You and I were created in the image and after the likeness of the divine, and so we are called upon to be part of that creative process. And the psalmist says, there is a spirit within man and a woman, and the breath of the Almighty giveth inspiration. There is a spirit within each and every one of us. And we tend to think about that as, oftentimes we see in pictures and movies that there's some kind of an energy or something that's shaped the same as our body and that we can step out of that. But I'm going to suggest to you that this idea of spirit is so much larger, so much grander, so much more amazing that we don't really have the conception of what that truly is in our current way of seeing and thinking. And so part of learning and growing is to expand our energy and our awareness of that amazing power and possibility and all of the spiritual gifts that are available to us. In this story of Jacob, he has an experience where he sees, it's been called Jacob's ladder, but it literally translates as a staircase. It is a way that we can experience the power and the energy coming all the way from heaven. Now, heaven is not a place. Let's get clear on this. Heaven is not a place. Heaven is a state, not like the state of Texas. I'm sorry, it's not. I mean, as beautiful and wonderful as Texas may be. It's a state of awareness. It's a state of consciousness. It's a state of understanding and connection with that which is divine. It's the place in which we can truly know and experience our oneness and our connection with that which is divine. It's our connection with, it's the place where we recognize that the divine dwells. Well, the divine dwells in a state of awareness, a state of consciousness. And so as we begin to understand this, there is a connection that's always present. It's always, Abraham calls it our source. It's also been called, they call it the matrix, the divine matrix. There is this power and energy that you and I are created of, and all of these things that we call cells in our bodies are really just an interpretation of that energy. That everything is in some form this spiritual energy, this spiritual, Charles Fillmore called it divine substance. Everything is shaped and formed out of this divine substance. And you and I are here to help participate in forming and shaping that divine substance in ways that express even more of the possibilities and the learning and growing that's available to us to know and experience more of that unique divine nature. Now, one of the things that we teach in Unity is the understanding idea about that we are a part of an abundant universe and that we can draw into our experiences this abundance. And that abundance, oftentimes we talk about it in terms of having things and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that, because the reality is the practice of manifesting and drawing stuff into your experience is not about the stuff. It's about the power that you have within you to bring into your awareness and your experience whatever you are holding your attention on, whatever you're holding your energy toward. We have a tendency in this creative process to try to use this creative power to move us out of what we don't want. I talked about this a little bit last week. But the challenge with that is that the more we put our energy and our focus on what we don't want, we're actually using the creative energy to draw to us more of what we don't want. Does that make sense? And so it's important for us to recognize where we are and understand that where we are is a result of the creative process, and where we are and what we're experiencing right now in this moment is a result of thoughts and feelings, belief systems and ideas, or as Abraham would say, our energy that we were holding a moment ago, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago, an hour ago, a month ago, perhaps a lifetime ago. And so what we want to tune into is that creative process and hold an energy and a consciousness and a focus that moves us not necessarily toward what we don't want or away from what we don't want, but to focus our energy on moving in the direction that we want to experience. The example that was given in the talk we heard yesterday was really very valuable. Imagine that you're taking a trip on a river, and there is a flow of the river. And if you get in the river and you decide that you're going to try and row upstream, you're going to notice that that's a little more challenging, right? But oftentimes we find ourselves rowing upstream in life, trying to do things in a way that are not really necessarily moving us in the direction that is for our benefit, for our greater good. And one of the ways we can tell whether that's true or not, that they talk about, which I think is really valuable, is to notice how we're feeling. Notice the feelings, because the feelings are powerful indicators of how we are showing up and how we are moving through this creative process. Because if we find ourselves in what they refer to as negative energies, you can pretty much bet that what we're doing is shutting down and closing off that flow. Now, we ultimately can't close off that flow because we're always still connected to it, but we can close off our experience to it. We can go to sleep to it. We can not be aware of it. We can not be conscious of it. In the story of Jacob, he went to a place, and he said it was a special place. But the place that he's talking about is not a physical, geographical place, but it is a state of awareness, a state of consciousness. So he went into a state of consciousness where he was open to and receiving of the dreams of spirit, and he got some awareness, he got some spiritual guidance. He got a vision, and the vision was that there is this amazing connection that we have, that we can take steps to move back and forth, and we can listen to. He noticed that the angels were moving back and forth. Metaphysically, angels represent messengers. They represent not just messengers, but messages. They represent awarenesses that are of a divine nature. They represent, on some levels, they can represent divine ideas. And so as we're open to, in a state of consciousness, open to the awareness of the divine, we're more open to seeing and feeling and experiencing those things that are beyond the physical realm and tuning into what we call the realm of divine ideas. The realm of divine ideas are unlimited. So, for example, a divine idea. What would be a good example of a divine idea? Charles Fillmore said they were basically 12 primary, you might say, divine ideas. He called them the 12 powers. And the 12 powers are aspects of our divine nature that we all can tune into. And one of the ways to know whether something is a part of and reflecting a divine idea is to kind of think about these 12 powers. So the 12 powers, let me go through them and see if I can remember them all. And I have an order of them, and I forget sometimes if I don't do them in order. So faith is a divine idea. Strength is a divine idea. These are aspects of the divine that are actually within each one of us. Faith, strength, order. There's an order. Wisdom or discernment is another term. Love, power is a divine idea. Will imagination. Understanding is a divine idea. Zeal or enthusiasm is a divine idea. Release, or sometimes it's called renunciation, is a divine idea. The ability to let go, it's a divine idea. And then life itself is a divine idea. And Charles Fillmore defined these 12 divine ideas and said that they, in some way, are at a base. All of our divine ideas are, in some form, made up of a combination of these divine ideas. This is a powerful awareness and understanding if we can really tune into thinking about all of these and reflect on them. Because if you think about all of the good that you might experience in your life, you can bet that they, in some way, are an aspect of this, of life, of abundance, of peace. All of them have aspects of these that are combined in some way. And so when we look at what we are participating in life, it's valuable for us to listen to the messages that are coming through to us. And how can we listen to those messages? How do we know whether something is a heavenly message, or how do we know that something is coming from that part of our nature which is more aware of our divine connection? How do we know when something is divinely inspired? It will have some aspect or some feature of these divine ideas. It will be a reflection of a greater experience of life. It will be a greater understanding of a particular circumstance or situation. It will be an infilling of just faith, of a trusting, of a knowing. If we get a message in some way, a desire in our heart, Emily Cady said that desire is the divine knocking at the door of our consciousness, trying to express something even more into our life and world. The word desire comes from two Greek words, de, which means of, and sire, the father. Sire is actually, the word sire actually comes from the same root word as source. And so the word desire really is of the source, and the word de also can mean from. It also is from the source. So when you have a desire for something, let's talk about that a moment. The desire in our hearts is a desire that we have in our feelings for something in our lives. And if we recognize that that desire has some aspect of it, of one of these divine ideas, we can be much clearer that this is something that's coming from more from the spiritual realm. If it is a desire for something that might be more limiting, then it's probably not coming from that place within us of our unique divine nature, of our spiritual nature. Charles Fillmore said in Prosperity, desire is the onward impulse of the ever-evolving soul. It builds from within outward and carries its fulfillment with it, a necessary corollary. So what is he saying here? The desire that you have for a greater experience of good, whether it be more health, whether it be more abundance in your life, for a greater experience of love or connection, you would not have that desire in your heart if there weren't some part of you that was already in touch with that. And what I mean by that is, it is already available to you on a spiritual level. It already exists. And the more you can tune into this knowing that it already exists on a spiritual level, it allows you to see and feel and take ownership in a very real way of it, so that you know that it already is. It already is. And the more you can hold on to the energy of being already available to you, the law of attraction works to draw it into the manifest world. Does that make sense? And so one of the great sayings that I have heard over the years when I've been in Unity is, that which you seek is already seeking you. Do you want more health? That is a desire of spirit that is trying to express through you, and it already is. And the more we can tune into that knowing and that feeling of it already is, then that draws it even more into the manifest realm. Would you like to experience more love in your life? Who wouldn't? Tune into that energy of love that already exists for you on a divine level. It's already trying to pour through you. It's already available to you. Let your heart then expand into a knowing and a feeling that you are not only loved, but you are love. That's what you are created in and out of. Would you like to experience more abundance in your life? There's a stairway that's available, and there are messages that are continually going back and forth in your life and in your energy and your consciousness that are giving you these divine ideas of possibilities and ways for you to step into the abundance that is already available to you on a spiritual realm. And the more we can practice tuning into that experience of having those things, the more we tune into that knowing that they're there already, the more we become participants in this creative process in a conscious way, and we are using that law of attraction to draw to us insight, inspiration, awarenesses, possibilities, openness to a greater good. So, our homework for this week is very simple. Pay attention to your desires. And know that whatever it is that you are desiring to experience more of, that really, as one of my Sufi friends says, splashes in your chest, opens your heart, expands your possibilities of good. But even as Abraham Hicks says, even if it's not jumping from here to absolute love or amazing, winning the lottery even, if you can just tune into whatever you are experiencing on the next level that is just a relief, a feeling of relief, or a feeling of even release. If you can tune into just that feeling of release, you know you're headed in the right direction. You know you're heading down the stream. You're no longer trying to swim upstream. You're opening up to the greater possibilities of creation by holding that consciousness and that energy. Jesus said, whatever things you ask for in prayer, believing you have received. And so this week, what I invite you to do is practice that awareness that it already is there for you. And just watch the beautiful things happening. Just watch the beautiful things happening. Now, if you get yourself caught up in thinking, well, where is it? What's happened? If you get caught up in this feeling of, well, wait a minute, I don't see it, what are you putting your attention toward? You're putting your attention toward it not being there. And the more you put your attention toward it not being there, the universe says, okay, sounds like you want more of not being there. So our practice this week is to hold the energy of being in the consciousness of having the love that we desire, being in the consciousness, the feeling of having the abundance that we want to experience more of, and that it already exists for us, to be in the consciousness of the health and wholeness and life of our unique divine nature. Now, it's not just a practice for this week. This is kind of the ongoing practice, isn't it, really? That's a big part of it. So let's take some time to just have fun with it this week. Let's play with that energy of having, and not only doing that for ourselves, but holding that energy for our friends, our loved ones, in our times of prayer, and just seeing that whatever they are holding out to experience more of in your heart, feel that it is already so on a spiritual level. And know that that spiritual awareness is already available and knocking at the door of their consciousness to give them inspiration, divine ideas, or for that matter, just experiences from out of the blue. All right, let's play with that this week and let's move into our meditation time. So let's move into a comfortable place as we move into our meditation time. I invite you to take a nice deep breath and breathe into the heart space. And as you breathe into the heart space, allow yourself to feel an expansion of the heart energies and the feelings that are uplifting. As we turn our hearts, our minds, our attention toward that which is higher, we know that within us there is also a stairway of unlimited possibilities that leads us into a greater knowing and experience of our connection with our source, with spirit, with the divine. And we're open to the divine ideas that are flowing in and through us. The divine ideas of our greater nature. The desires of our soul. The onward impulse of the ever-evolving soul, as Charles Fillmore calls it. We let our hearts be filled with a relaxing and allowing those desires for greater good to fill our hearts with a knowing and an assurance that they're already available to us. Perhaps beyond our vision, our outer vision at least, but not beyond our inner vision. And so we choose to see it in a way, in a form that we can truly feel and experience it. Not getting attached to the form, but just being open to it forming. In ways that we can truly appreciate and enjoy. We know that there is the Spirit within us that is knocking at the door of our consciousness to allow us to feel the blessings and to know and see them in our physical body as life and health and wholeness, in our purse as abundant financial means, in our relationships as connections and being touched on a deep level of love, of the giving and receiving of love, in our world as peace and understanding. These are all already available to us. And so we open our hearts to receive and allow them, to know them, to feel that they are already true right now. And we are participating by holding our awareness in this way and just simply being a conduit of Spirit to express even more of the possibilities of good and to be a light in the world. Take a nice deep breath. As you breathe in and out, give thanks for that feeling and knowing and that assurance of those blessings already being so. And so it is. Take another nice deep breath. Let your awareness come back into this room, this time and place, and feel that upliftment of spirit, that relief, that letting go, assurances of all is well. Another nice deep breath, and when you're ready, gently open your eyes.